This is World News. Tonight, Iran on edge, America on the move. A U.S. aircraft carrier strike group is now in Middle Eastern waters. Tehran is threatening retaliation, and a protest movement, once massive, has been crushed with deadly force in Tehran. Details coming up. We begin with the scale of the Iran crackdown and the message it has sent to the world. The United States has deployed a naval strike group led by an aircraft carrier to the region. Tehran says it is ready to strike back if Washington makes the first move. But even as the protests fade from the streets, tensions are escalating elsewhere.
A move that could redraw the global energy map and ignite a superpower confrontation. The United States is considering imposing a naval blockade on Iran, a step aimed at choking off Tehran's oil exports and cutting the regime's financial lifeline. The proposal, first reported by the Jerusalem Post, would represent one of the most aggressive actions taken against Iran in decades, and it has already sent shockwaves straight to Beijing. The goal of a blockade would be simple and devastating: prevent Iran from exporting oil. Under heavy U.S. sanctions, Iran already has few buyers left, and one country dominates that list. According to 2025 data from analytics firm Kepler, China buys more than 80% of all Iranian oil shipped last year, averaging about 1.38 million barrels per day. Cutting off Iran's exports would not just hit Tehran, it would directly strike China's energy supply. That's why Beijing is furious. Iranian oil plays a critical role in China's energy security, and a U.S. naval blockade would effectively place American warships between China and a key supplier. Analysts warn this could turn a regional crisis into a global confrontation, dragging the world's two largest powers into a dangerous standoff at sea. For China, this is no longer about Iran. It's about sovereignty, trade, and power. At the same time, Washington is laying out sweeping conditions for any deal with Tehran. According to Axios, U.S. demands include the complete removal of enriched uranium, strict limits on long-range missiles, a total ban on domestic enrichment, and an end to Iran's support for regional proxy forces. Taken together, these terms would dismantle the pillars of Iran's strategic power, something Tehran has repeatedly said it will never accept. The pressure is being backed by force.
We have a lot of ships going that direction, just in case. We have a big flotilla going in that direction. And we'll see what happens. We have a big force going toward Iran. I'd rather not see anything happen, but we're watching them very closely. I stopped 837 hangings on Thursday. They would have been dead. Every one of them would have been hung.
The USS Abraham Lincoln Carrier Strike Group is expected to reach the Arabian Sea within hours, accompanied by guided missile destroyers and advanced combat aircraft. U.S. and regional officials say this is one of the most significant American force surges since last year's strikes on Iranian nuclear facilities. Airlines are canceling flights, militaries are coordinating, and the region is bracing for what comes next. Israeli officials say preparations are complete for a potential U.S. operation, with full coordination between Washington and Tel Aviv. F-15E Strike Eagles, refueling tankers, and surveillance aircraft are already positioned across West Asia. Meanwhile, the U.S. is reinforcing missile defenses, deploying THAAD and Patriot systems in Israel, Qatar, and Jordan. Officials insist these moves are defensive, but the scale tells a different story. Iran, meanwhile, is issuing stark warnings of its own. A senior Iranian official says any U.S. attack or blockade would be treated as an all-out war. Tehran claims its forces are on maximum alert, even as it faces severe internal unrest fueled by economic collapse and mass protests. Now, with a naval blockade under consideration, the stakes extend far beyond Iran, reaching into global markets, superpower relations, and the stability of the world's energy supply. A naval blockade would not just isolate Iran, it would challenge China, test global trade, and push the Middle East to the edge of a wider conflict. As U.S. warships close in and Beijing watches closely, the world is left waiting on one question. Is this the final act of deterrence or the opening move of a much bigger war?
Now, reports of a major explosion near Iran's sensitive Parchin nuclear site have come to the fore. The cause remains unclear. Whether it's an accident, sabotage, or something else entirely, it is not clear as of now. Iran's internet blackout is making verification nearly impossible. But any incident near a nuclear facility, intentional or not, raises alarm bells far beyond Iran's borders.
Something big may have just happened in Iran. Unverified reports are claiming a major explosion near the Parchin military complex, a site long linked to Iran's secretive nuclear weapons research. No confirmation yet, but the timing couldn't be more tense. With nationwide protests shaking Iran and U.S. aircraft carriers moving into the region, many are asking one question. Is this an accident, sabotage, or the start of something much bigger? Early this morning, social media and OSINT accounts began reporting blast sounds near Parchin, just southeast of Tehran. Some posts even claimed links to Iran's Revolutionary Guard, but so far, no official Iranian statement, no IAEA confirmation, and no independent verification. And that's important because rumors spread fast, especially during crises like this. Parchin isn't just any military site. For decades, Western intelligence agencies have tied it to high explosive tests used in nuclear weapon development. In late 2024, Israeli strikes reportedly hit part of the complex, damaging a facility linked to nuclear detonation research. Recent satellite images suggest Iran may have reinforced and rebuilt, not abandoned, that site. So if an explosion really did happen here, it raises serious questions. This comes after massive U.S. and Israeli strikes in 2025 that badly damaged Iran's nuclear infrastructure. Washington says those attacks set Iran's program back years. Tehran admits damage, but insists it's rebuilding. At the same time, Iran has stopped fully disclosing where its enriched uranium is stored. That's keeping intelligence agencies on edge. Inside Iran, protests are entering their third week, with reports of a brutal crackdown and thousands killed or detained. Outside Iran, the U.S. has just deployed the USS Abraham Lincoln Carrier Strike Group to the region. President Trump says it's about stability, but strike options, including cyber attacks, are reportedly on the table. Iran, meanwhile, is warning that any intervention will be met with retaliation, and its regional allies are echoing that threat. If the Parchin explosion is real, analysts say it could be an internal accident, sabotage, or another covert strike. Or it could be nothing at all. Right now, no confirmation means no conclusions. But with protests raging, nuclear sites rebuilding, and warships moving into position, the region feels dangerously close to the edge.
With U.S. forces building up in the region, President Donald Trump is reportedly weighing limited military strikes designed not for invasion but for shock. The objective? Shake Iran's leadership without triggering full-scale war. But the window is narrow, so the question now is whether U.S. military action would destabilize the regime or rally it. And as strategy hardens, so does the language.
Inside Washington, alarm bells are quietly ringing. President Donald J. Trump has received multiple intelligence briefings suggesting Iran's ruling regime is weakening, possibly to its most fragile point since the Shah was overthrown in 1979. According to people familiar with the reports who spoke to the New York Times, the foundations of the Islamic Republic are cracking, and the leadership knows it. Iran's government and military leadership are now preparing for the unthinkable. Successors have been quietly appointed in case senior figures are killed in an attack, a rare contingency plan that signals something the regime never admits publicly: fear at the very top. When a system built on absolute control begins planning for decapitation, it suggests leaders are no longer confident they will survive what comes next. According to multiple sources, Iran's supreme leader has taken an extraordinary step. Ayatollah Ali Khamenei has reportedly gone underground, relocating to a fortified tunnel complex in Tehran after security chiefs assessed that a U.S. strike is no longer theoretical. The move is designed for wartime survival, but symbolically it marks a leader retreating from public authority into physical hiding. Behind the scenes, power is quietly shifting. According to Iran International, day-to-day control of the Supreme Leader's office has been handed to Khamenei's son, Masoud Khamenei. He is now acting as the primary conduit between Iran's leadership and executive branches. In a system built on permanence, such a transfer does not signal stability, it signals concern about continuity. Those fears are intensifying as Washington sends unmistakable signals. President Trump has confirmed that a U.S. armada is moving toward Iran, warning Tehran over the killing of protesters and any attempt to revive its nuclear program. The aircraft carrier USS Abraham Lincoln and three destroyers are now operating in the Indian Ocean, bringing nearly 5,700 additional U.S. personnel into the region. The military posture continues to harden. F-15E Strike Eagles are active across the Middle East, while U.S. cargo aircraft move equipment into forward bases. The United Kingdom has deployed Typhoon fighter jets to Qatar, and U.S. Patriot and THAAD missile defenses remain on high alert. The buildup mirrors the posture seen last year before strikes on Iranian nuclear facilities, moves officials insist are defensive. All of this unfolds as Iran faces its most severe internal unrest in decades. Protests driven by economic collapse and fury at clerical rule have swept the country. Activists say more than 5,000 people have been killed and over 27,000 detained. The regime has responded with mass arrests, internet blackouts, and threats of execution, while Trump openly calls for an end to Khamenei's 37-year rule. Iran's supreme leader is underground, his authority is fragmenting, and U.S. warships are closing in. All sides insist they want to avoid war, but history shows collapse often begins when leaders believe survival is no longer guaranteed.
There is no longer proxy warfare or back-channel signaling. Trump-Tehran spat is direct, public, and combustible, which raises an extraordinary question. Could this confrontation end not with negotiations, but with a Maduro-style capture attempt from either side? For now, it remains speculation, but the trajectory is unmistakable.
Tensions between Iran and the United States just took a disturbing new turn. A senior Iranian official has gone on state television and openly suggested that Iran should capture the U.S. President Donald Trump, comparing it to what he claims the U.S. once did to Venezuela's president. The comments come at a moment when the region is already on edge. Speaking on Iranian state broadcaster IRINN, hardline ideologue Hassan Rahimpour Azghari, a member of Iran's Supreme Council of the Cultural Revolution, used extreme language, calling for Trump to pay the price for Washington's support of anti-government protests in Iran. Azghari claimed that operations inside U.S. territory, including sabotage and destructive actions, would be permissible, and said he hoped Trump would be captured either during or after his presidency. These remarks were broadcast publicly and later circulated widely by opposition media and monitoring groups. It's important to be clear, this was not an official government order or military announcement, but it does reflect the increasingly radical tone coming from influential figures within Iran's ideological establishment, especially as the regime faces intense internal and external pressure. Iran has been rocked by weeks of nationwide protests, with reports of a brutal crackdown, mass arrests, and thousands killed or detained. At the same time, the United States has ramped up its military posture in the region. The USS Abraham Lincoln Carrier Strike Group has entered U.S. Central Command's area of responsibility, a move widely seen as a warning to Tehran. President Trump has publicly voiced support for Iranian protesters, while sharply criticizing the Iranian government, fueling anger among hardliners in Tehran. Other senior Iranian officials have echoed the confrontational tone. Deputy Parliamentary Speaker Hamid Reza Haji-Babai warned that any U.S. attack, direct or indirect, would be met with a decisive and immediate response, citing Iran's right to self-defense under international law. Meanwhile, Iran's allies are weighing in. The United Arab Emirates says it will not allow its territory to be used for attacks on Iran, while Hezbollah has warned it will not remain neutral if Iran is targeted. Taken together, this is a picture of escalating rhetoric, military signaling, and regional anxiety. Asghadi's remarks may be symbolic and extreme, but they underline just how volatile the moment has become. When words like these are spoken publicly, especially on state television, they are meant to send a message. For now, there's no indication of immediate action, but the temperature is clearly rising. With protests raging, warships in position, and rhetoric hardening on all sides, the risk of miscalculation is real.
So, Iran is wounded but not passive. America is mobilized but not committed. Between them lies a region already stretched to breaking point. That's world news for you. Thanks for watching.